So we're starting month 10 of our Cabin by the Lake block of the month. So you made it this far, congratulations. And now we've got lots of little flying geese to make. These are just two sewn together, so you can see I'm pretty proud of my points and how they're not cut off, and they look pretty good. So I'm going to show you how you achieve this flying geese block. We start with rectangles and squares. So on our squares, we want to make sure that we are marking this line on them from corner to corner. And when we sew, we're going to sew just a hair or a thread width on the outside of that line. So I'm going to place my square one side at a time onto the outside edge of my rectangle. And it's kind of hard to see that line, but the point is going from the middle of the rectangle out to the corner here. So I'm going to sew on the outside of that marked line, and I'll give you a peek at what that looks like. You can either move your needle position over, or you can use a marker on your presser foot, whatever's easiest for you. So I've got that one row sewn, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you can see my marked line, my sewing line, that red thread, is to the outside edge of that line. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my thread, but now I'm going to trim 1/4 inch outside that line because I don't need that excess fabric. Okay, so that's just garbage. And now I'm going to press this away, and you can see here's my block. So I've got that point to point, my new rectangle. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to place another square on the opposite side, and this time my line is going from this top down to the outside here. Same thing, I'm going to sew just on the outside of that marked line, and I'll give you a peek of what that looks like. Let me trim my thread. So here again is my line being sewn to the outside of the line towards the piece that it's going to get trimmed off. Okay, so now there's my piece, and I'm going to press that to the dark as well. And so now if you've done it right, you should see your little geese, your triangle, and then you should have 1/4 inch, or maybe just a hair more, from the point to the outside edge of that blue. And so when you're sewing your sections of geese together, they're all going to be the same color, and you're going to sew those, and when we stitch that, you can see that your 1/4 inch should just be beyond that point. So this, so that you can see. So it's kind of hard to see. There's my 1/4 inch seam, and you can see that it goes past that point. So when I open this up, there's no cutoff on the point of my geese. So depending on your fabric color, you might have rows of 6 or 8 geese sewn together, and this is for our border. And so this is the technique for sewing the flying geese for month 10, and I'm going to have one more video that just explains how we sew these border units together. So stay tuned for just one more video on how to finish this whole thing up.